Sean Combs's legal team is making desperate attempts to secure his freedom from federal custody. His defense attorneys are aggressively pushing for either a complete dismissal of charges or an entirely new trial proceeding. The music mogul appears to be in full panic mode as federal prosecutors seek a substantial 10-year prison sentence. In a move that demonstrates his
Diddy, Combs' defense is requesting either a new trial or an acquittal altogether. Combs was found not guilty of the more serious sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges, but was convicted of transporting sex workers across state lines. Now his attorneys say his actions don't fit the crime. Let's bring in Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Aaron, what's the latest here?
So, Diane, his attorneys say that the way this was charged doesn't exactly match what Sean Combs did. And they say he's the only person who's ever been convicted of this charge, transportation for the purposes of prostitution, who hasn't benefited from the prostitution other than through voyeurism. They say voyeurism, watching other people have sex, isn't what this law was meant to address. Combs, they say, didn't profit from the prostitution. In other words, he was no pimp here. And he wasn't a John either. He didn't have sex with the male escorts. Instead, he brought girlfriends and male escorts across state lines to watch them have sex. And his attorneys say that just doesn't fit what the law.
Combs is now offering an unprecedented $50 million bail package in exchange for his release. This represents his fifth consecutive bail attempt, with each proposal becoming more extravagant as his legal situation becomes increasingly dire. Combs received mixed results in his recent trial. While he was found not guilty on the more severe sex trafficking conspiracy allegations, he was convicted of interstate transportation of sex workers.
Diddy's legal problem. So Diddy's legal team has just filed a motion for bail. They're offering $50 million. They're, basically arguing that it's unfair that he's behind bars, given the nature of his conviction. His attorneys are asking the judge to approve the $50 million bond package, and they want him to live on house arrest in his Miami mansion while he waits, for his convictions. Now, the judge, has ordered Diddy to remain in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until October 3rd, when his sentencing is set. So, and remember, the judge also, cited during the case that Diddy's admitted violence towards his former lovers, including Cassie. He said, quote, "It's impossible for the defendant to show he possesses no danger to any person." So he said that. So that's the reason he felt that he needed to stay behind bars. So I'm wondering, if this, if this will still apply as they're arguing this.
Let's see what's going to happen with this Diddy trial. Federal prosecutors are now responding to Diddy trying to get out, right, while he's waiting to get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response, that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does pose
for commercial purposes. His legal representatives argue that this conviction doesn't match his actual conduct and represents an unprecedented application of federal law. The defense maintains that Combs never financially profited from prostitution activities beyond voyeurism.
So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years, but really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not That's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by sex workers. Essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so, since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason, and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Well, Diddy is upping his offer to the government. He wants out of jail right now. You know that he is still behind bars at Brooklyn MDC while he is awaiting his sentence in October. But right after he was sentenced, they tried to get out on bail. They made an offer. They said, we'd like for him to be released on $1 million bail. The judge shut that down. So now it's like he's playing Let's Make a Deal, right? How about this, Your Honor? What if we offer a $50 million bail package? The money has gone up, but the reason that he thinks he should get out is because he says what he's convicted of were nonviolent offenses.
And he's right. He's right that he was convicted on 2 counts of the Mann Act. The Mann Act is hiring a prostitute and taking the prostitute across state lines. It's a nonviolent crime.
Heuristic purposes. According to his legal team, he functioned neither as a pimp nor as a client in these arrangements. Instead, he transported romantic partners and male escorts across state boundaries purely to observe their intimate encounters. His attorneys contend this behavior doesn't align.
Prosecutors put in an opposition to Diddy's bail request, and the prosecutors say they're actually looking for a more lengthy sentencing than what they originally thought. In this opposition, the prosecution is laying out the fact that the judge already denied Diddy's bail for being a violent person, and they hone in even more into Diddy's alleged violence against people. Prosecutors are saying that Diddy has actually been lying when he said that he didn't commit violence between his breakup with Cassie Ventura in 2018 up until 2024 with his incident with Jane. Let's go ahead and jump right into this motion. The government says despite the court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. The defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There is no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd of 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on this again on that basis alone, but then they get into listing more reasons. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration. As an initial matter, the defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49 because the motion was filed 27 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. The defendant fails to meet Rule 49, which is a 14-day deadline.
In early July, Combs was convicted on 2 prostitution-related charges, each carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years. He was found not guilty on the more serious racketeering charges.
Today's a great victory.
After the July verdict, prosecutors initially expected Combs would face a prison term of 4 to 5 years, according to CBS News. However, according to a written submission filed Thursday in a Manhattan federal court, as reported by the Associated Press, the expected sentence is now substantially higher. The submission also opposed Combs' request to be released on a $50 million bail ahead of his October 3rd sentencing. The filing also says Combs must remain in custody until sentencing unless he can prove exceptional circumstances, and according to prosecutors, he cannot. This comes after a previous bail request for $1 million was also denied following the verdict. A federal judge ruled there was no evidence to suggest Combs doesn't pose a danger to others or the community. With these latest developments, Combs will remain in jail until his sentencing on October.
With the intended scope of federal transportation laws. federal prosecutors have consistently urged the judge to reject all bail applications, asserting that Combs represents a significant danger to both the public and surrounding community. The presiding judge has mandated that Combs remain confined at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until his scheduled October 3rd sentencing hearing. The legal foundation of this case rests on the Mann Act, federal legislation enacted in 1910. The Act's primary focus remains on prosecuting individuals who profit financially from prostitution enterprises. However, the application in Combs's case represents something different, as the jury determined that he functioned essentially as a consumer of services, rather than someone who profited from their activities. Following his conviction, Combs's legal team attempted an initial bail release proposal of $1 million, which the court promptly rejected. The current $50 million offer represents a dramatic escalation in his desperation to avoid continued detention. However, the presiding judge appears unmoved by these financial offers. Believing Combs presents an ongoing danger, federal sentencing guidelines don't restrict the potential duration of his sentence, meaning the judge could theoretically impose life imprisonment if deemed appropriate. The prosecution has become increasingly aggressive, with recent court filings indicating they're pursuing more extensive sentencing than originally anticipated. Following his July convictions on 2 related charges, each carrying maximum 10-year sentences, prosecutors initially anticipated he would face 4 to 5 years imprisonment. However, recent court submissions indicate that expected sentencing is now substantially higher than original estimates.
A report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, "Spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him." If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, "He eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it." This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source.
Diddy never deserves to be free. He's a danger to society. #Diddy Combs is the very definition of danger. Keep him locked up. Forever. Allegedly, Hollywood elites and executives are the ones ordering hits on Diddy. Allegedly, all of this started after Diddy sued Diageo for not honoring their billion-dollar business agreement. In 2023, Diddy sued Diageo, accusing the multi-billion-dollar liquor giant of racial discrimination and failing to uphold their end of a billion-dollar deal involving Ciroc and De Leon tequila. Are these people the same ones coming after Diddy in prison now?
2013. De Leon Tequila co-ownership, Diddy and Diageo jointly acquired De Leon Tequila, making it a deeper investment relationship. May of 2023, Diddy sues Diageo. Diddy filed a lawsuit accusing Diageo of neglecting the De Leon brand, racial discrimination, claiming they marketed it as an urban product and failed to treat him as a true business partner. Then in January 2024, they settled out of court. Diageo and Diego settled the dispute out of court. While details still remain sealed, the settlement marked the end of their business relationship. So this is from 2007 till 2024, 17 years. Could they have protected him? I don't know. Their CEO currently today is Deborah Ann Crew. She was a former intelligence officer in the military. Once intelligence officer, forever you're an intelligence officer. Who knows what happened? We don't know the relationship. We're not going to make any accusations. All we know is, could this have been a protection where they were at the parties and they knew things that were taking place and are like, wait, what do you want to do to us? No problem. Boom, drop the bomb. I don't know. All I'm saying is the timing is kind of strange. Maybe even they wanted to kind of be like, look, we know what's about to be dropped on this guy. We want to have nothing to do with you. We're out. Here's some money. You stay quiet. We'll pay you, but we want to get out of here. The only thing at the time is kind of crazy is January 2024, they settle. 2 months later, remember what we're sitting there doing and minding our own business? And you hear, March of 2024, the feds are raiding Diddy's Miami home and his LA home. For what? What are they trying to get? And you saw them pulling out all these boxes. What's going on over here? Federal agents raided his Miami and LA home, seizing 90 terabytes of digital data. What are you taking? Bunch of letters he wrote?
Prison sources indicate Combs is struggling significantly with both the mental and physical aspects of incarceration. Fellow inmates have allegedly reported that he's experienced emotional breakdowns, claiming he cannot survive in the current environment. This represents a dramatic fall from his previous lifestyle of wealth and influence. His daily routine reflects the...
You know, no jail or prison is expected to be a five-star hotel, we know that, but it's not supposed to be a house of horrors either.
Yeah, the troubled and violent Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn housing Sean Diddy Combs raided by the feds today. They're investigating poor conditions, rampant drug smuggling, mounting violence, and repeated inmate deaths.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles live at the scene in Sunset Park with what's really going on. Darla.
Well, Bill, the Bureau of Prisons will only say this is an interagency operation to maintain a safe environment, but sources tell ABC News that inmates are not the target, and attorneys who've been seeing clients here for years say the timing is very curious.
Charges, to all of which he's pleaded not guilty. There's no VIP section, there is no concierge, only conmen, killers, and kingpins. MDC is so bad, federal judges have questioned the harsh conditions for those here awaiting trial. So bad I was here 2 years ago during a cold spell, reporting on detainees with no heat, pounding on windows for help. There was even a congressional inquiry. But take the word of a former inmate I spoke with who goes by Esco.
It's terrible. The food is terrible. Of course, the inmates are terrible. The guards are terrible. The conditions are terrible. It's just terrible.
The inmates that you're surrounded around, just in general, a lot of them are brought up on pretty heavy federal indictments, right? So just in terms of the atmosphere there, it's just certainly one that no one wants to be in.
Combs was placed in a special housing unit and on suicide watch, the standard protocol for high-profile celebrity detainees. The disgraced mogul was denied bail by two separate judges. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, asked the court to transfer him to the federal detention section at the Essex County Jail, but the judge deferred to the Bureau of Prisons. Federal trial attorney Philip Hamilton says lockdown can mean a lot less time to prepare your defense.
The stark contrast from his former life of luxury. Combs now receives only 1 hour of daily recreation and 3 weekly shower opportunities. His meals consist of basic institutional food like pasta noodles, cereal, chili, and peas. The Metropolitan Detention Center's commissary allows purchases of additional items at inflation.
The legal saga of Sean Diddy Combs entering a new chapter after his guilty verdicts. In court docs obtained by E! News, the Bad Boy Records founder filed a new motion July 30th, requesting to either overturn his convictions or grant the 55-year-old a brand new trial. Less than a month after Combs was convicted for transportation to engage in prostitution, his attorneys calling the verdict unprecedented, alleging Combs never actually committed illegal acts as the law describes, saying in their motion Combs, at most, paid to engage in voyeurism as part of a swinger's lifestyle. That does not constitute prostitution under a properly limited definition of the statutory term. The media mogul's legal team demanding an acquittal, and if not, they'll request a fresh start in court without evidence tied to his not guilty verdict.
Prices. 6 Hershey bars cost $7.50 with a strict spending limit of $160. According to reports, the holiday season proved particularly difficult for Combs' mental state. Sources described his holiday experience as nightmarish, with reports suggesting he experienced a complete emotional breakdown in his cell and begged guards to transfer him to a hospital for psychiatric observation. But
you knowing Diddy personally, do you think it's possible he might take his life?
It takes a certain individual to prepare himself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he's done and what he's accomplished, if he had to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he may commit suicide. He'd do an Epstein.
Why you think he didn't pull a Russell Simmons and leave the country?
They was watching him, bruh. They was watching him. And then I think that he had to turn over his passport. Even if you own your own private jet, they have a system up there whereas that they supposed to check your passport and anything that you need to fly as if you were flying commercial. He's suffering the consequence and I don't feel bad for him at all. Because people was trying to talk to him. People was trying to tell him. You couldn't pull him by the coat and let him know anything. You understand? They messed up the game, brother. When he put that shit out with them, money, power, respect, it ain't never been like that. It ain't never been like that. You got your respect in the street that gave you your power, that brought you your money. Totally different thing. He let that money, power, and respect go to his head, but he had it ass backwards. So do I care what happened? Nah. He got enough money to buy his way out of this. So we think.
So when you look at that video of him pacing around and he's looking worried, and you knowing him, do you think it's possible that he might commit suicide?
When you're a narcissist, there's always a possibility because you're suffering. But I don't think that he can see himself in a cage. I don't think he can see himself behind those bars in those type of situations. It's too many real dudes that dislike him. But then again, there's a lot of real dudes that need help. And him being behind bars, he could probably help them.
Staff refused his requests. Upon his initial arrival, he was placed on suicide watch, which represents standard protocol for high-profile celebrity detainees. The placement was temporary, and he was subsequently housed in a special protective unit before being moved to general population, where most inmates are placed. The case has attracted attention partly due to Combs's previous...
He's going to go to prison, and if you do, it'll be for something very, very small. It wouldn't be nothing what the people think. I don't think he's going to go nowhere long. But at the same time, you got to look at it. The best witness they had is KPD. KPD been an informant for a very, very long time. And KPD is getting ready to go to trial for the murder of Tupac. KPD said it. Everybody else know it. And KPD says the money came from Puffy to kill Tupac and myself. So if they really wanted Puffy that bad, KPD would have could have deal with them, got on that stand, and broke it down. That would have been the RICO right there. That would have been murder for hire.
Business relationships. In 2023, he sued Diageo, the multi-billion-dollar liquor corporation, alleging racial discrimination and breach of their billion-dollar business agreement involving Ciroc and De Leon tequila brands. By January 2024, both parties reached a private settlement that ended their 17-year business relationship.
I do want to ask you, how you feel about this program that he enrolled into?
Well, the programs that they put him in is because of he's getting close to release or he may be released. So the Bureau of Prisons for the federal government has to give him a program based on his crime that he committed. You know what I'm saying? He did commit a crime. He is going to jail for committing a crime, but the time is going to be based on his pre-sentence report. So now, in the pre-sentence report that the probation officer, the federal probation officer do, they go by the history. If he had any criminal history, they go by the criminal history. They go by the history, the crime. They go by what the victim statements and all that, and they do this report that they submit to the judge. And submitting that report to the judge is going to have what they believe based on the guidelines of the prison system, the guidelines of the correctional sets up based on what the time he'll do based on the crime. Now, the crime, and let's get this straight, the crime that he committed is based on the Mann Act. And that ranged anywhere from probably 22 to 54 months.
Some observers note the suspicious timing between the January 2024 settlement and the March 2024 federal raids on Combs's Miami and Los Angeles residences, where federal agents seized approximately 90 terabytes of digital evidence. The Metropolitan Detention Center where Combs is housed has developed a notorious reputation for corruption and dangerous conditions. Numerous inmates have died under suspicious circumstances, and an ongoing federal investigation is examining widespread misconduct within the facility's operations. Former inmates describe the environment as universally terrible, with poor food quality, dangerous fellow prisoners, and problematic guard behavior. The inmate population generally faces serious federal charges, contributing to a tense and potentially violent atmosphere. His attorneys are currently attempting to overturn his convictions entirely. In court documents filed in late July, the Bad Boy Records founder requested either complete conviction reversal or an entirely new trial. His defense alleges that Combs never actually committed illegal acts as legally defined under federal statutes, arguing he only engaged in voyeurism as part of a lifestyle that doesn't constitute prostitution under properly limited statutory definitions. The entertainment industry has been watching this case closely, as Combs possesses extensive knowledge about industry practices spanning multiple decades. He maintains knowledge of names, locations, business deals, and potential cover-ups that could implicate other powerful individuals if he ever decided to cooperate with authorities. Industry observers have noted similarities between Combs's situation and other high-profile cases involving wealthy, connected individuals who possess potentially damaging information about other powerful people. Some have suggested that Combs might be cooperating with federal authorities, pointing to the possibility that his apparent desperation might be carefully orchestrated to maintain credibility while providing information to law enforcement. The pre-sentencing report will ultimately determine the length of Combs's incarceration. This comprehensive document examines his complete history, criminal background, the specific crimes committed, and victim impact statements. Federal probation officers compile this information and submit recommendations to the judge, with the Mann Act violations potentially ranging anywhere from 22 to 54 months under federal guidelines. Do you think Combs's incarceration is part of a larger plan, or is the truth finally catching up to him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories they don't want you to hear.